What is up, DDD fam? It's your boy Brendan aka Drip, back with another video. And man, oh man, do I have a fucking spicy one for you guys, man. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. Normally I wouldn't do an update on this deck this close to the ban list. It's probably going to fall in literally tomorrow or the next day, but special occasions changes that. And if you've been following the channel or following the community tab or following the Discord, you know that I went and competed, traveled with some teammates and some friends to 2 different locals in my state. One we normally go to every once in a while anyways, and the other one is just known to be a really competitive locals. So we wanted to go up there and give it a shot and try it out and everything. It's been a long time since I've like really played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, I always try to play competitive, but you can't really play competitive when you're playing against a bunch of friends, in my opinion. So it's like an event style thing. It's been a long time since I've had that feeling, and I wanted that feeling again. So we had the schedules lined up to where me and my friends could go and do so. But your boy fixed his list, worked on some cards, and went down there, and not just one, but both locals, total of 7 rounds, your boy went undefeated with the best deck. That's right, undefeated. Fun fact, one of the rounds at one of the locals is the only round one of the rounds there at one of the locals I went to was the only round I even dropped a game. Other than that, I 2-0'd everybody. So out of 7 rounds, I was only forced to a game 3 once, which with that round, I lost game 1 and won game 2 and 3. And both the locals were a mixture of rogue and competitive, like meta. And fun fact, the deck that forced me to a game 3 was Mystic Mind Burn. Oddly enough. The guy that was playing was actually chill, and like he wasn't like the normal Mystic Mind Burn players that look like Cartman from South Park and are just douchebags. This guy was actually really nice, and he was really cool. I think he was basically only playing it because he didn't really have nothing else to play, but he was still a really cool guy to say the least. And I didn't get really as triggered as I normally would against Mystic Mind Burn players. He was mainly playing like Mystic Mind Chain Burn instead of just like the regular ordinary Mind Burn with like countdown and all that ordeal stuff. But he mainly stole game 1 because I didn't have no Alta Mine in the main, and I knew he wasn't going to summon a monster. He was just going to continuously burning me with his trap cards. So I was like, yeah, well, writing's on the wall here. So we went to game 2. I won game 2 and game 3, which both game 2 and game 3 really came down to a wire. Literally both games did. It got me down to like 1,000 life points, and I still came back and won. So never give up. Always stay level-headed. Remember that, duelists. But this is going to be kind of a longer video because there was a requested video for this deck profile. On top of that, too, if you see my videos, you know I like to talk anyway. So if you're just here for the list, you're in the wrong place, so you might as well just head out. But so my matchups were, for the whole day, I played Earth Machines. I played the Mind Burn. I played Dragon Link. I played, what is it? What was the other one? I played Flundereeze. I played PK Fire. I played Sword Soul. And then I played, for the final round of the entire day at the other locals, I played the mirror match, if you want to call it the mirror match, which I'll get to more of that in a minute. Like it's not even really the mirror match in my opinion. In my personal opinion, it's the worst version of this deck. But if you're at an entry level of the deck and you're just trying to learn how the deck mechanics kind of work, then by all means that's fine. I just kind of get a little triggered when like they call it the same deck, because it's not. It's just Invoked Dogmatika that runs the Schism package, and which that one of the locals I went to, I was starting to get a little triggered because one of the locals I went to, some of the people were memeing on your boy, bro. Not me, but Alistair boy, which I understand. He's he's a meme going around out there. There's nothing I can do about that. I get that. I understand because the utility he provides. I get that. I really do. But some of them were being bluntly disrespectful about it. And I was like, all right. There's one thing about being memeing about it and just not respecting the deck. And some of them were not respecting the deck. So your boy had to do the right thing and show them to respect the deck. And that's the 2-0 everybody. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this deck. There's some my previous list. There's quite a few things that's actually changed, and there's a couple of things that there's one thing I'm going to try to fit in the deck, but at this current time, I don't know what I would put in replace for it. Which, if I end up doing so, and I won't make a whole new video on it unless the ban list ends up dramatically like changing a lot. So I'll probably just end up putting it in the chat if and when I find out. So I'll let you guys know if I do. But I'm going to be doing this deck profile in, like, not archetypes, but, like, engines, if that makes sense. Not just, like, monster, spell, or traps ordeal. So to start out, obviously, we got 3 of the boy himself. Alistair boy. Then we got 3 of the MVP. I'm not freaking kidding. The entire time I've, like, played this deck, this card has always done, like, obviously work. But yesterday, at both locals, this card was dumb. This card won me several games just because of its effect protecting, and obviously 2 invocation. Not much needs to be said about that. But yeah, a meltdown is just cracked. It's ridiculous, honestly. The Shaddoll lineup is where I actually changed some things. I kept the priority one, which is 2 Windy, and then I dropped Squam to 1. The reason why is because Squam is really, really good. Obviously, he's basically an indirect, like another version of Construct. So if you don't have Meltdown, he's a guaranteed, like, you're at least going to get 1 dump off of something. But what I found out is, like, when I was play testing my previous lists and stuff, I felt like the second dump of Squam was only there, like, in a significant, serious grind game. Like, a serious grind game, which obviously does come up. I'm not denying that. If I ever decide to cut one of the other engines that I'm going to show in here, then I would obviously bump Squam back up. I wouldn't run any other one of or anything like the Earth one or the Fire one. Those are garbage. At least right now they are. But moving on to the rest of the dolls, we got 1 Dragon, 1 Hedgehog, 1 Beast, 1 MVP that people sleep on and it's hilarious, and then the second MVP. This is my doll lineup, monster-wise. I did not miss the second Squam, and I did not need any other dolls. Every single one of these have provided so much utility for me that is freaking bonkers. Ariel's nuts. Triple DD Crow, you love to see it. Definitely against Sword Soul. I didn't use it against Sword Soul yesterday, but that game was actually kind of quick because Window's a card. But fun fact, honestly, out of all 7 rounds that I played, I literally only summoned Winda, I think, 4 times. That's like both games. Like, so technically, I played 15 games because 15 games of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because 2 O's and then the one that forced me to game 3. So what, 15 games of Yu-Gi-Oh? I don't know, fuck math. Regardless, out of all 15 games, I only summoned Winda out of all of them probably 3 to 4 times, maybe 5 max, if that. But I really don't think I went over 4. So. It's not like for the people that try to meme on the deck and say, well, Winda's a card, it has win in the name. Yeah, she does win you games, but she's not the only MVP of the deck. They all play together to play the giant role as just being the MVP deck itself, not MVP card, because this is best deck. I don't give a shit. And then for the spells, we got 3 Fusion and 1 L. I really, really, really wanted to play a second L. I really did. But I didn't miss the second L, so I don't know. The only reason I was wanting a second L is because I was really terrified of when I went to the more competitive locals that I was going to have to deal with IO because a lot of people are good duelists and have better luck than me and they draw the IO all the time. So I wanted to have something where I can put some kind of board presence on with L so I can end up like make Construct or something and send Dragon to pop the IO if necessary. But that situation never arose, but I would probably in the future like to try to find a room for a second L, but the 1 worked perfectly, even though I never resolved this card or even saw it for that matter. yesterday, but it's still a good card to say the least, obviously. And then for my Dogmatika lineup, I got one Ecclesia, which is Bay. I got one Fleur de Lis, which is Bay with armor. And then we got the triple Nadir. You do not need Maximus, and you definitely don't need Punishment in this deck. For an example, I played the mirror match yesterday, and I could tell he was having an issue with himself because he was wanting to dump to be able to get to his schism. But he knows, you never really want to. You never want to dump. Like you never want to make Maximus to dump Abclone in order to get a schism. So like in a mirror match, that is, because they'll end up being like, you'll end up indirectly being a turn behind by the time you pass turn to them, and you don't want to deal with that. And with that being the case, that's another reason why I say with the actual Shaddolls, you get so much more utility. It's ridiculous. Because if you want access to Schism, you could easily get it through the normal ways of playing the actual doll engine. So without relying on Maximus. Granted, I understand the consistency that it kind of provides, but for the most part, honestly, I don't have consistency issues at all with this deck. Obviously, every deck can brick, but this list literally just overperforms for me ever since I switched it up. It's ridiculous. So, and the punishment, you just really don't need. You're just asking to lose if you play it, and you've been playing the deck for a while. If you've been playing the deck for a while and you still think punishment's a good card, then I'm sorry, it's not. You're just asking to lose. Unless you have a full graveyard and you have Resh to be able to recycle your resources after you have activated that punishment. Outside of that, that's the only situation that even makes that card even valid. Because if you're not fusing, you're losing with this deck, just saying. And ever since I cut punishment a long time ago, this deck has overperformed. Moving on to the random cards / monster hand traps / just generic cards themselves is Golden Lord. Oh my god. And Double Veiler. Double Veiler at one point was actually a second L and the second Squam, but I cut it for the Veiler because I really expected a lot of Sword Soul wherever I went to either local, even though I only played against Sword Soul once. But I was really wanting to play around that, and ever since I kept the imperms the Veiler in here, it was the best decision I think I ever made, because it done more for me than L would have in a lot of the situations. And this card is just stupid. This card is nuts. Drawing this card is not bad. Definitely when you draw multiple like Shaddoll fusions, because you can just get your Shaddoll fusions back if you just send this to the graveyard. This debate negates, or this just to send shit away, is so good. Helps you out, floodgates and everything. This card is just always overperformed for me, and you can send it off of Shaddoll fusion. Like I said before, I probably would never cut it unless there's literally overachieving MVP that could possibly go into the deck. And this next one is going to trigger a lot of people, but I have access to it, and ever since I added it to this deck is ridiculous. This deck is so ridiculous. And that is the DPE engine. This shit, oh my god. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. To be able to use Celestial and then Beast in the same turn to draw 4 is just cracked. On top of that, DPE allowing your stuff to resolve and play around Imperm and Veiler is just nuts, because you normal summon Alistair if you want to. They chain Imperm and Veiler, you just chain DPE to pop your Alistair and something else on their field if necessary to still get your invocation and to play around it. It is so freaking good, it's ridiculous. And if you might be asking, why am I not playing 3 Fusion Destiny or just 1 Fusion Destiny? And the reason in that is because, one, I don't crutch on this card. I just like this card's utility. So it's not one of those things. It's one of those things where I want to see this engine or find a way to get this engine if I don't draw Nadir Servant. Like if I don't draw Nadir Servant, I want to see this. And then some of y'all are also going to be like, well, what about the confliction? Doesn't this conflict with Nadir Servant? No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't, because you can just make this. You can make Kliga, make this, and then use Nadir Servant to dump and still do your App Cologne combo if you want to. Like, use Nadir Servant, dump App Cologne, add Ecclesia, App Cologne effect, add 1, discard 1. You still get your window set up or whatever you need in the grave set up, and then you can just hold the Ecclesia for a follow-up. So it never gets in the way. It never gets in the way or conflicts that in that regard. Because in some situations, DPE does more for you sometimes than just the random Valor that the Fleur-de-Lis provides. But in some situations, the Fleur-de-Lis does better than this. They really feed off of one another and they apply a different, like, they apply more to your deck, like more utility is what I'm trying to say. So ever since I added this also allows you to, fun fact, get both, not both, but either or of your effects off for your Shaddolls. Like, you can get their graveyard effects by popping them, or you can just wait for to get their flip effects whenever. So basically, you have almost instant access to them at any time. So you can flip them when it comes back to your turn, or you can pop them with DPE to do something. So, like, for an example, if you don't really know what you're playing and you already have a Shaddoll Fusion or a Fusion in the graveyard, and you don't need the draw off of Beast, or you don't need the add of the spell off of Hedgehog, you can set the Dragon if you want to, have the DPE on field, find out what your opponent's playing. If you might want to bounce a monster or whatever, then you can just leave Dragon there. But if they set a spell or trap and you're worried about it, just chain DPE to pop the Dragon, and Dragon will get his graveyard effect since he went to the graveyard. It's really, really juicy and busted. Outside of the fact that I just said earlier, you can draw 4 and discard Shaddoll and plus even harder in one turn. You love to see it. Then we got 2, for the spells, which is random spells, we got 2 Forbidden Droplet, and then 1 Burial. Burial is a god card in this deck. It's a free extender. Also, the Droplet is where I would like to try to fit a third, mainly because if you've seen the community post in the community tab, I finally pulled a ulti Droplet, mainly because my locals doesn't actually provide those OTSs. But I pulled the third Droplet, the ulti drop, and I really want to try to find room for it, but at this time, I really don't know what I want to cut. I don't even think, I really can't find anything, but I'm sure I'll find something eventually. But another, yeah, that, and then this is just this. Another thing too, I want to say, the Fusion Destiny, I forgot to tell you, another reason why I'm running 2 is because we do run Verte in this build instead of the Cross Sheep. Verte will probably end up getting banned by the time this video is out, probably. If not, it'll be a day or 2 later. But because I'm recording this a day after the tournament, even though I think I'm going to upload it the same day, but it's whatever. If you're seeing this, Verte might already be banned. But if Verte gets banned, you could still run the same amount of Fusion Destinies, just cross it out, take Verte out for Cross Sheep. But I'm running 2 because we run Verte, and if Verte gets like impermed or whatever, then you still have another Fusion in deck that you can draw into or whatever and still make DPE with, without having the bricks in the deck. So it works out in that regard. And on top of that, if you resolve the first one, you have the second one, then it just becomes free fodder for what's his name, Golden Lord. Moving on to the traps, if you didn't already guess it, we got 3 Imperm. I was almost able to get the ultis last night at the locals, but couldn't come to an agreement. But we'll get the ultis one day. And then, obviously, the Resh and the Schism. The Resh is so slept on, it's ridiculous. You can banish to get their flip effects whenever you want, basically. And Schism is just obviously Schism. Not much I have to say about that. Schism itself helped me out Dragoon twice yesterday, 2 separate occasions. Because Meltdown protecting it, you love to see it. And then they can't chain to the send effect because it misses time because it's all in one effect, like unison effect. So yeah, you love to see it. That's it for the main deck. It's a clean 40. Moving on to the extra deck, because I am going to show you all the side deck too. Moving on to the extra deck, let me just get the tokens out of the way. Hold on. The extra deck is basically the same as it was before, obviously, except DPE. Links, we got Artemis, Gravity Controller. This card, dude, is so stupid. This card is dumb. I was playing against PK Fire yesterday, right? And the guy left his whatchamacallit, whatever, Rusty Bardiche in the extra monster zone. And I just attacked it and bounced them both back to the extra deck. It was cracked. It's funny. That card is busted. And then we're on one Verte instead of Cross Sheep. Obvious reasons, gives access to Shaddoll Fusion, but mainly Fusion Destiny, obviously. Mainly the only reason it's in here for. So we don't run Super Poly anymore because there's not enough light and dark going around. It's all earth or freaking wind. Don't feel like dealing with it. There's no real point. I mean, I would like to run Shikanaga if I wanted to, but I don't have no room in the extra deck for it. Then we got, for the Invoked, we got 2 Makaba. One of Goides. That card is busted. It helped me break the Mind player's board when he wakened the dragon me and got a free Blue Eyes Ultimate. Alternative, the one that can be targeted or destroyed by card effects. One Raijin. I didn't summon it yesterday because I didn't get to play against Lyrill's Tri-Brigade, which I'm not complaining. I hate that deck. But it's there for a couple of obviously other reasons too, because we run that's another reason why we run a second Windy. So if we banish one Windy out of our own stuff, then we still have one later on. On top of that, Windy's indirectly the best Shaddoll main deck monster. Also, we can obviously, I know we can use our opponent's stuff, but that never came up. And then one VFD. This card's nuts. It stalled a lot of the games for me enough to get resources to play back, to play a comeback if I needed to. Moving on to the Shaddolls. Well, we got 2 Wifey. Bay right there. We got 2 Construct. You don't need a third. You never want to summon a third. And if you're playing the deck right with Resh, you can just keep looping an infinite amount of constructs. So it's perfectly fine in that regard. Then we have 2 of the best extra deck one. And it's not because of his dump effect. I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, he needs banned because of his dump effect. You're wrong. Shut your mouth. I don't give a shit what you say. But regardless, his effect to permanently negate something can be destroyed by battle is the reason why he's goated. Fun fact. This card is nuts. He's like my favorite. She's my favorite one in the extra deck, besides Bay herself. And then don't tell her I said this about the other ones, but Wind is Bay too. They're all just Bay. They're all. I don't even know which one's my main bitch because they're all just like equally loved. But Window obviously steals games. You don't need a second window. There's a couple of times, like once or twice, but I think just once that a second window came up. But it's regardless. I still won that game anyways. But I promise you, I know one might sound weird because you're not accustomed to it because you just had the utility of having abundance of her in the extra deck, like a second or third one. But I promise you, you only really summon her once, and then if you use Resh, you can just use Resh to bring her back. So you just keep looping her. Granted, it is in defense position, but that also applies pressure to your opponent to where they are forced to go to battle phase to attack over this to start playing their turn again. So it indirectly slows them down to where they can't OTK you if they had the resources before. And then they know once this goes to grave again, you're just going to add your Resh back again, and it's just going to be a continuous loop between her or any of your other dolls, whether it be your extra deck ones or your main deck ones. So it applies a lot of pressure in that regard, and that's the reason why I swear about Resh, and I'll argue with anybody till I'm blue in the face about that card. And then the last 2 in the deck is obviously Intis and your boy, Destroy Your Phoenix Enforcer. This card is stupid. So dumb. It's so good. And oh my god, it's so good. I don't even really, there's not much need to say. If you've been paying attention, you know what that card does and how it's pretty much better than Dragoon just because the fusion spell is so generic. Alright, that's it for the extra deck. Now, man, I am going to show you guys the side deck because I built this side deck as if I was going to like an actual big event, because one of the locals I go to is real, like I've gone there several times before. They are fairly competitive. And then the other one, that was the first time I went there. Because I heard they were super competitive, one of the most competitive locals in the state. And so I just wanted to be overly prepared, and as if it was an event. So I started out with my side deck. I had 3 Droll because I was terrified of Lyrill's Tri-Brigade, and then it's also just hits the mirror, hits whatever else that's random. And then we got double Lancia because Flundereeze is a deck, and this card just crucifies that deck. So, which it actually did win me the Flundereeze matchup when I played it, because Lancia's just busted. I didn't see it, sadly, when I was playing against PK, but it's all good. We got it. We went there. And then we got 2 D barrier because it hits so much. It hits Sword Soul, it hits a lot of decks, and it hits a lot of rogue decks too. So I just wanted to try to make my side deck as generic as possible, like I always do. Same with my main decks. And D-Barrier is just a really, really good card. I wish I had room for a third one, but I don't have room for it, sadly. Sadly, I never even had the chance to really side this in, because every time I played yesterday, which is, I mean, I'm not complaining by any means. Every time I played yesterday, I never got to side in going first cards, because I was always going second. Because I only won two dice rolls yesterday. Fun fact, I only won 2 dice rolls and I lost the rest of them, so I was always forced to go second basically. And so I never even got to side this in yesterday, but it's still there for when I do. Then the MVP, y'all aren't ready for this. The MVP of the side deck, which came down to the wire, because right before I left yesterday morning, I texted my dude and I was like, yo, this card or Dark Ruler no more. And he didn't even hesitate. He said this card. And I was like, I don't know. Dark Ruler just says no to Tri-Brigade Leerless. And I was like, it's whatever. This one says no to them too. So, all right. I was like, it's fine. Also, it helps you to outmine. Well, to reset the board. And that is Dark freaking Hole. This card, dude, put in so much work yesterday, is cracked. Card is dumb. It's funny. And I like activating it too, because every time I activate it, people's face just says it all. It's hilarious. They're like, "What the hell?" But nah, this thing came in clutch. Definitely in the mirror match. I just used this, forced out Macabre, and then I just OTK'd and went full combo. No, Dark Hole, good baby. It's good stuff. Then we got 2 Cosmic Cyclone, because Eldritch is a deck and IO is a card, and this just says no to both. Then we got another one I wish I had room for a third, Evenly Matched. Sided in a lot yesterday. Never saw it, but obviously it's cracked when you do see it. Not much explaining. And then one card that's juicy, but you love resolving it, and then they just awaken the dragon and get a free monster. And then the MVP, besides Dark Hole, was Red Reboot. This card indirectly won me the game against a Mind Burn player, because I didn't want to set it because I was afraid he would find a way to destroy it or something. So I just held it in hand and burned the life points, because I saw the time there was 18 minutes left, and I knew if I negated that trap card and he couldn't activate traps for the rest of the turn, I knew I had a free playground to play ball, which I did, and I ended up winning the game basically because of that, because I got so far ahead that I had outs to his Mine if he were to activate it on me, and his Lord of Heavenly Prison or whatever. So I had a way to stop all that, and I just got too far in the game state that he couldn't play catch up on that regard. But that's it for the extra decks, main and side, guys. My back-to-back undefeated 7-0 deck profile, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said before, I don't think I'll end up doing another profile for a while unless it dramatically changes because of the ban list, or we get some kind of juicy new support. I know I uploaded a profile of this before, like a month or 2 ago, but this is my deck. It's my favorite deck. It's my baby. It's the deck I play the most competitive, and I'll probably play competitively for a while until we get Despia. So, yeah, this is my baby. I proved my point that you disrespect Alistair, you get the window, bro. You get the Macabre. But with that being said, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video and you all enjoy the deck profile. Give it a chance, man. Give it a shot. It's really freaking good. It's so good. But with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day, night, morning, evening. Whenever you're watching this video, I hope you all are staying safe out there in the age of COVID. And your boy, Drip, out. Peace.